Good morning. Buenos dias. Welcome to Bay Area Unitarian Universalist Church. I'm Katie McQuage-Loukas. My pronouns are she and hers. Friday was the spring equinox. And for a single moment early in the morning, light and dark were balanced, more or less. The length of the sunlight hours has now overtaken the length of the nights. The world continues on its cyclical journey, but at this moment, on this day, we are here, just past the tipping of the balance. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you arrived here today, in body, in mind, or spirit, whether you are here with us in this space in person or joining us online, wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. If it is your first time, you are welcome here. If it is your 500th time, you are welcome here. We are glad that you are here, and we are glad to be here together. My invocation this morning is the acknowledgement of the elements. Spirit of the East, spirit of air, of morning and springtime, be with us in sunrises, in times of beginning, in times of planting. Inspire us with the fresh breath of inspiration and creativity as we go forth into new adventures. Spirit of the South, spirit of fire, of noontime and summer, be with us in the heat of the day. Help us to be ever growing. Warm us with strength, courage, and energy for the work that awaits us. Spirit of the West and of water, of evening and autumn, be with us in sunsets. Help us to enjoy a rich harvest. Flow through us with a cooling, healing quietness and bring us peace. Spirit of the North, spirit of earth, nighttime and winter, be with us in the darkness. Gift us with abundance and manifestation. Ground us in the wisdom of the changing seasons as we celebrate the spiraling journey of our lives. And I now offer the words of Reverend Amy Freeman. Once more, the earth is turned towards the light of the sun. As we are bathed in the light of a new day, may we greet the dawning of fresh possibility. Once more, we awaken from our slumber. As our bodies rise to meet the challenges and pleasures of living, so may our hearts and minds open with promise. Once more, we gather for worship. As we join our voices in word and song, may this assembly bring forth wholeness. Come, let us worship together.
Hello, my name is Joss Bergeron-Bisbeno. My pronouns are they, them. I'm the vision keeper for our CUPS group, Thistle and Honey, and also your worship associate today. I've asked CJ, the circle keeper of Thistle and Honey, to light our chalice. We kindle this flame, connecting to the tradition of Unitarian Universalism expressed in many forms, including nature-based spiritual practice. This vessel is a symbol of our sacred community, gathered as we are right now in this room and online. At the vernal equinox, mid-spring, a time for flourishing of new green growth as life and light grow together. We begin with a moment to receive the blessings of the elements that Reverend Katie invoked, as soil that holds us and sustains us, wind that moves and strengthens, sun that warms and awakens, rain that cleanses and renews, and as mindful presence moving through all things. We proclaim this a sacred time and place, so mote it be. And now let's join together in our opening song, number 61, in your gray hymnal and also on the screen. Lo, the earth awakes again.
The earth awakes again.
covenant is the silk that joins Unitarian Universalist congregations, communities, and individuals together in a web of interconnection. The practice of promising to walk together is the precious core of our creedless faith. Let us enter into our covenant not only as words that we recite, but with commitments we renew again and again. We proclaim together our belonging. We say together, first in English, the words on the screen and in your program. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship. Thus do we covenant with one another. And now en Espanol, led by CJ.
Good morning. My name is CJ. I use any and all pronouns. I was told this morning that I do have to let you guys know that I have been fully claimed as Guatemalan by my Guatemalan family, so that's a lot of fun. So let's go ahead and read our covenant. Buenos días, soy CJ, yo uso todos los pronombres. Ahora vamos a leer nuestro covenant que empieza con: el amor es la doctrina de esta iglesia, la búsqueda de la verdad es su sacramento y el servicio es su oración. Vivir en paz, en comunidad, buscar el conocimiento en libertad, servir a la humanidad en fraternidad. Así es como pactamos entre nosotros. Thank you, blessed be, gracias, bendita sea.
We have several spring stories for you today. And I begin with this one, the equinox. Billions of years ago, there was a large swirling cloud of dust and gases, and it spun faster and faster and eventually flattened into a disk. Still spinning, the center collapsed, compressing more and more densely until it ignited and became a star. The disk began to separate into rings, and the rings began to clump up. And one of those clumps grew until it too compressed enough to be warm, though not with the vast heat of the star in the center. In all that chaotic swirling, something smashed into it, and it began to wobble as it spun. It took billions more years for atmosphere to form, for waters to form, for the land to stabilize. And somehow, after all that tumult and transformation, the conditions were just right for a cell with DNA and a nucleus to form. Life proliferated in a myriad of forms, mostly went extinct, proliferated again a couple of times. And at some point, the Earth stabilized on its axis. It wobbled less and less as the moon stabilized it. And it now tilts at 23.5 degrees, more or less, as it spins on its axis on its journey around the sun. Because of the tilt of the Earth, different parts of the Earth are closer or farther from the sun at different times of year. The part tilted closer is warm and summery, and the part tilted away is cold and wintry. The closer to the end of the axis, the closer to the pole, the more extreme the difference in climate and in light. Here in this place, we're not so terribly close to the pole. Leaves changed colors and fell in the autumn. We've had cold and windy days and nights, but we do not often see snow here, nor do we often see the waters freeze. And so now, as spring comes, yes, it is warming, and we welcome it for now after the unaccustomed cold spells, but we do so with some misgivings because we know that summer lies ahead of us. We may have slowed down a bit during those longer nights and colder weather, but our lives are picking up speed again. The animals and birds that passed this way on their journeys south are returning north again, if they have not already. Some of the trees that lost their leaves in autumn have already returned to greenness. Each place has its signs and its signals. Things blooming, leaves unfurling, animals and birds coming and going. The northern half of the world grows busier and warmer. Colors proliferate. Spring has sprung again. And now turn to our red candle of community. It reminds us that we are part of a greater whole, part of an ecosystem, an interdependent network of beings in this space, but also radiating outward. Today, we light it in honor of Butch Cockrell, in remembrance and in love. The flowers today are in his honor from his celebration of life yesterday. And we light that, holding his family in our hearts, for they have long been a part of this community. A moment of silence. May his memory be a blessing to us all, as he was in his life. We also light our white candle of peace today. I began lighting a peace candle when I was an intern, when Russia invaded Ukraine. I began to light one here when the conflict between Israel and Hamas exploded and Gaza became a place of devastation. And I continue to light it now as we watch our own government attempting to destroy Iran, destroying boats in the oceans, our actions in Venezuela, and for that matter, our actions here at home in Chicago, in Los Angeles, in Minneapolis. So much violence to so little purpose. Unitarian Universalists are committed to a more peaceful world. We name that longing in our desires for justice, equity, and transformation because we believe that's how we get there. That true peace is the fruit of justice and not merely an absence of conflict. So this morning we light our white candle out of determination and commitment that we will continue, as we have long done, to work for a world in which all might flourish, all might thrive, and in which there will be more justice and more peace. Each week, amid the tumult of the larger world, we also bring the stuff that makes up our lives. We bring our hopes and our dreams and our wishes, we bring our joys, and we bring our anxieties and our worries and our sorrows too. And all of those make up the rich tapestry that is our community life together. I invite you, as you are moved, to come forward and light a candle for all those things that may be on your heart this morning. We will bear witness to it and to you. If you would like a candle brought to you, please raise your hand. Come forward as you are moved. I have a meditation on the planting season for us. So if we want to get comfortable, however that is for us, maybe you want to close your eyes, or maybe just have your eyes at half-mast, whatever feels safe and good. And take a breath and relax as you exhale. Settle in. Another breath. And we will begin by visualizing earth, soil, the clay from which we are made and to which we will return. Soil with its scent, the way it crumbles in our hands and gets dark under our nails. This dirt is cleansing the natural filter for water, and it holds life. It was once rock and mineral, joined with decaying material, feeding hungry bacteria and fungi. Earth, you are a living thing made of living organisms and giving us life. Forgive us for treating you like dirt, overlooked, as we walk over you and on you, littered with discarded plastic bags. Forgive us our clever industrial innovations and their toxins. Forgive us and accept seeds. Now visualize seeds, the promise of future life. Seeds, may you germinate and live into your full potential. May your roots come forth and follow the earth's gravity down, down, down. And may green shoots break through up to the surface seeking the light. Thank you, future plants. Thank you for converting sunlight into the energy that allows life to flourish. Thank you literally for the food we eat. Thank you, and please accept this water. Water, fundamental compound, we only see a part of your journey. We see little puddles making mud, cumulonimbus clouds above us, glaciers melt, springtime showers, the unimaginable expanse of the depth of the oceans, the vapor in our dying breath. Water, you are in all of us, in every cell of our being. Water, continue to flow. Continue to allow life to grow. Continue to quench our thirst. Continue your cycle through the earth, transpiration and evaporation, condensation and precipitation. Continue to filter and trickle into streams, into rivers, finally reaching the sea, only to continue your journey again by entering the air. Air, solution of gases, invisible but felt, held, heard. We feel you as the air pressure changes, and we feel you as leaves dance in your wind. We hold you in anticipation. You are our life breath flowing in and out of us all. Oxygen in, carbon dioxide out. Inhale, exhale. Flowing back and forth between plant and person, algae and animal. We hear you, air. You are the conveyance for our encouraging words and uplifting music as your waves vibrate. You surround us and expand throughout our atmosphere, beyond the stratosphere, towards our sun. Sun, little yellow star, great source of life's energy, bringer of light and warmth. Bringer of the new day as we see you again after another rotation on our axis. Roiling, radiant plasma, your solar rays give hope. Hope for a new tomorrow, hope for warmth after winter, hope for light when the future seems dark and hard to see. Brilliant giant sun, shine down on our little earth, our earth made of clay and dirt under our fingernails. Take another breath and come back to this moment and this place and this community. Our prayer and song is a little bit longer than the ones we usually do. Please remain seated for Rising Green. It's number 1068 in the teal hymnal.
Good morning. My name is Gloria Miller, and I am the Director of Religious Education here at Bay Area Unitarian Universalist Church. And my pronouns are she, her. Our tale for all ages today is a Siksika tale. The Siksika is a nation in the Blackfoot Confederacy, consisting about 7,800 people who live in South Alberta, Canada. The title of our tale is When Bear Stole the Chinook. The north wind blew in hard and cold that long ago winter. There were many blizzards, and the land was frozen under ice and snow. It seemed that the warm wind called the Chinook would never come. The deep snows made it hard to find wood for fires, and there was very little for the Siksika people and the animals to eat. Each sunrise, the old ones would look for signs that the Chinook was coming. The Chinook would blow in if the skies were clear and blue. But each day was as gloomy as the next, with fog and clouds covering the mountain peaks. Among the Siksika was a boy with no mother or father. He lived in the poorest of lodges, and his closest companions were the birds and the animals. He spoke with them and shared with them whatever food he had. One day he decided to call his friends together for a council. Owl and coyote came, weasel, prairie chicken, and magpie were there too. The boy turned to Magpie, a busybody who always flew here and there, learning everyone else's business. "Do you know where the Chinook is gone?" he asked. Magpie answered, "I don't, but my relatives who live in the mountains might know something. I'll go pay them a visit." The next day he returned, and he said, "My relatives know a huge bear who has his den high in the mountains. He has stolen the Chinook so that he can keep warm at night." So the friends held another council that evening, and they decided to make that long journey to the great bear's den and try to bring back the Chinook. They left early in the morning, carrying with them dried meat and berries and the boy's stone pipe. Now Magpie knew the way and led them up that steep mountain. Higher and higher they climbed, over icy ridges, through snow-covered forests. The wild north wind picked up the snow and threw it in their faces, but still they struggled on. And at night they found shelter in caves, huddling together under a buffalo robe for warmth. At last, Magpie announced, "We're near the den of the great bear. We must go slowly and sneak up on him." So creeping quietly, they heard a frightening sound. "Rrr," growled the bear, "who is there?" Now, because of Owl's keen eyesight, the boy sent him to peek through the smoke hole in Bear's den. Now, Owl's job was to see if he could find that Chinook. But Bear was on his guard, and he heard Owl. And when Owl poked his head through the hole, Bear grabbed a stick and he knocked him in the eye. That is why, to this day, owls have circles around their eyes. "Ow!" cried Owl as he flew back. Coyote bragged, "I'm not afraid of that old bear. I'll go." Once again, Bear was waiting. He reached out to grab Coyote with one of his huge paws, and trembling with fright, Coyote dashed back to tell his friends what had happened. "What will we do?" Prairie Chicken asked. Magpie said, "Weasel, why don't you sneak up to the den? Bear won't see you in your winter white coat." So Weasel crept up to the den, and when Bear saw his white coat, he thought it was snow falling through the smoke hole. So Weasel was able to get a really good look inside. He returned and he whispered, "I found the Chinook. Bear keeps it in a buffalo hide bag in the far corner of his den. Bear looks huge and fierce. How are we ever going to get it?" Suddenly the boy had an idea. "I'll blow smoke from my pipe into his den, and when it starts to fill with smoke, Bear's going to become sleepy." The boy got out his pipe and filled it with tobacco. Then he climbed up to the smoke hole, and he puffed, and he puffed, and he puffed. and soon thick white clouds filled the den. Bear's eyes became heavy, and he yawned. Pretty soon, the great bear's snoring was so loud even the ground rumbled. Coyote crawled silently past Bear, and he grabbed that buffalo hide bag that held the Chinook. Carefully, he dragged it outside, where they saw that it was tied with heavy leather thongs. Now Prairie Chicken stepped up and said, "Well, let me see if I can cut the thongs with my beak." She pecked hard and fast at the leather straps until they snapped and the bag fell open. The Chinook rushed out with a loud whoosh. Bear heard that noise, and he came thundering out of his den. The boy and his friends ran like the wind, with Bear's sharp teeth snapping at their heels. They raced along the icy ridge across the frozen river, and when Bear got to the riverbank, the ice was already melting. He knew it would not hold his weight. So he growled and he paced, while Coyote, Magpie, Prairie Chicken, Weasel, Owl, and the boy escaped safely down the mountain. When the boy returned to his village, the people came out of their lodges. The boy pointed to the clearing sky, and then the wonderful warm wind blew off the peak and down into the valley, and from there it spread to the far corners of the earth. Everywhere, snow and ice melted, the rivers broke, tumbled down the mountains. The people, the animals, and the birds danced and gave thanks under the bright blue sky. Bear has never again been allowed to steal the Chinook. Since he cannot stand the cold, from that time on he has slept all winter long. And that is why bears never leave their dens until the warm wind called the Chinook returns, bringing spring to the land.
responsive reading this morning is in the back of the gray hymnal. It is number 546. It is To Free the Heart by Francis Anderson, Jr. Number 546. Please join me on the italicized text. Through dreary, sodden days, the field sponged up the graying skies. And now the sun lies soft as birth again, as if the earth had just begun. And blossoms on the vines designed in spring come out to sing again. And everywhere the ripening pushes falling leaves apart to free the heart for freshening. As through the seasons of our years, becoming often waits the nourishment of tears.
This is the story of Persephone's return from the underworld. Once upon a time, there was a girl, and everyone called her Kore, which is the word for girl. Her mother was Demeter, the goddess of the land and all the growing things, and the farmers prayed to Demeter for good crops and abundant food. One day, Kore was in the fields, minding her own business, when Hades, the god of the underworld, burst out of the ground and took her away, back down into his realm of the dead. He had fallen in love with her and wanted her to be queen of him. Well, Demeter was terribly sad and looked everywhere for her daughter. Who would have taken the daughter of a goddess? Who could have taken her? Only another god, of course. The sun sees everything, and eventually Helios, the god of the sun, tells Demeter what he has seen. As she grew sadder and sadder, she neglected the land and the growing things, and no food grew. People became hungry. Eventually, the other gods made Hades give Kore back, but she's different now. He has persuaded her to eat from a pomegranate, and this has changed her. So, although she returns to her mother, and life returns to the land with the spring, she will have to return to the underworld for some portion of the year, and then it will be fall and winter again. So most versions of the stories don't say how Kore, the daughter of Demeter, felt about it. But she worked very hard at being a very good queen, and people began to call her Persephone, which means to bind the grain after it is harvested. Demeter grows the grain, but it is Persephone who prepares it for humans to use. She takes care of the dead who pass into the underworld, helping them on their journeys. Sometimes she helps others who are journeying to the underworld on quests or following visions. She was one of the most powerful goddesses of the ancient world and inclined to be kind and helpful to human beings. Virgil says that Persephone never intended to be like her mother, that she would prefer to stay in the underworld and not return. Socrates said that Hades pursued her for her wisdom. We know that grain must be harvested to feed the people, and that winter is a necessary time for the fields to rest before another growing cycle begins. So even though we rejoice with Demeter when her daughter returns to her in the spring, we wonder what it might mean that Persephone is a powerful queen in her own right, in her own place, when she is on her throne in the underworld.
There are many stories from all around the world about what it means when the days become longer than the nights. There are stories everywhere of hope being made real. The gods who have died, Osiris, Adonis, or Tammuz, or those who have entered the land of the dead in other ways, such as Persephone or Inanna, they return to the world of the living. The month of April in Anglo-Saxon England was known as Easter Monath, or Easter's month. And so this season is called Ostara by many pagans today, those who are following the calendar of the European seasons. And we don't know very much about Easter, just that a monk wrote down the name of the month. We can guess from etymology, and we can unpack the Proto-Indo-European languages and figure that she's probably a goddess of the east and of the dawn. The Jewish people will look for the full moon after the equinox to celebrate Passover. And that similar calculation is how the date of Easter comes. Naturally, when a religion of a resurrected God came to northern lands, the language of the season lingered. And so while other places will use language of Paschal or Pesach from the biblical language of Passover, most of us in English language traditions will say Easter. And what does any of this have to do with rabbits and eggs? Not much, really. The eggs are actually really authentically Christian. You didn't eat eggs during Lent. So right before Lent, you have to use up all your eggs at those pancake parties. And right after Lent, you get to eat all the eggs you want again. It's very exciting. As for the rabbits, they are everywhere in the spring. And there were various forms of German folklore, and German immigrants brought it to the United States, and now we have an Easter bunny. And it's probably just as well that there's massive confusion about what we're supposed to do for the spring equinox or Ostara or Easter. Which folklore is Christian and which is pagan, nobody knows. And it doesn't actually matter that much, because I think what matters the most is what grounds us in the here and the now, right where we are. And we are on the Texas Gulf Coast. We are not celebrating the snow melt. It's not really an issue for us. We are possibly not even really celebrating the return of the warmth, and we're noticing other signs of spring, totally different ones. We're not looking for crocuses and snowdrops. So, I guess I did a whole bunch of research, but I myself am not much of a naturalist. And I thought I would crowdsource some of our collective wisdom. How do you know when it is spring in Texas? What are the signs that you look for? And just raise your hands.
Azaleas.
Azaleas. Bluebonnet, wildflowers of all kinds, but especially the bluebonnets. And those start blooming in March, so sometimes even February. So they are definitely a sign of the moment. Yes? A deeper shade of green. One thing that I noticed when I was living in Boston is that first spring blush is like neon green, because when you live somewhere that actually has distinct seasons, there are noticeable chunks of time that change, and here it all kind of runs together, and then at some point you turn around and the greens are deeper, and there they are. Yes?
I have trouble breathing.
That's the thing about the wildflowers and the grasses and the trees and all of the delicious, lovely smells that come, and then we can't smell them anymore because our noses get stopped up and we start sneezing. Yes. When I was in the hill country a couple of weeks ago, most of us were just sneezing the whole time. It was just like peak sneezing season. So I did look up a list of what blooms: bluebonnets, Indian paintbrush, Indian blanket and phlox, and those pink primroses that I always called buttercups growing up because they have such bright yellow pollen. Thistles, morning glories, black-eyed Susans. I'm sure there are many other things, but I went through a list of wildflowers and kind of looked around and thought, what have I seen in the last week or so? So how else do we know? I think the gardeners might be able to tell us what they start early enough that they might have it in season now. Susan. We'll get to migrating birds. We'll do food, but then we'll do birds. Yes. The first mugginess, yes. Yes, when it just feels like it's rising up, that the humidity is just pooling on the ground. So I know we have some gardeners and that most things are still being planted, but I bet, Jane, what would we be eating out of the garden as the very, very first couple of things?
First, tomatoes.
The first tomatoes, maybe some cucumbers, if you plant them early enough.
Peppers and spring onions.
Spring onions.
Yeah, and cucumbers are coming.
Any minute now. They surprise you, don't they? I always feel like you turn around and suddenly there are dozens and they get big very quickly. It's not yet time for squashes and things. If they got planted early enough by clever gardeners, of which I am not one, we might have strawberries, the very earliest strawberries. And if you have a mulberry tree in your yard, it could start going anytime March into April. And I had those growing up, so those I knew about. The way that I know spring is returning is the mosquitoes. And also the butterflies and all the other insects we see. And then the birds. Susan mentioned the birds. So all the birds that migrate from North America to South and Central America come back crossing the Gulf of Mexico. And I looked it up, and 1/3 of migrating birds will pass through Texas. 1/3 of the migrating birds that go through the United States, not like every bird in the world. And so in March, we might start seeing hummingbirds and purple martins, but any day now, March, April to May, the really exciting thing is what they call falls, which is where if the wind changes, all the songbirds kind of freak out and land for a little while to rest. And so all along the coast, you might have a day where you walk outside and there are birds you will have never seen before and will never see again, just covering all of the trees. And I remember a few of those when I was a kid, where I would look out and see my mulberry tree covered in bright colors of birds I could not name. We'll see dozens and dozens and dozens, and I've already seen the geese passing through on their way. They stopped at the pond at my apartment complex. Do we have some birders who have favorite birds? Buntings? Peter? Pelicans. Do those migrate? Red-winged blackbirds. Susan? The roseate spoonbill? Joe? Seen flamingos the last couple of years. And so clearly our signs of spring are different down here. I also made a note to ask about fish because I don't know anything about fish. See, this is one of those, if I had to do all this research, we'd never get to talk about it. I think it's crawfish season, judging by what's on sale. I'm sure that there are particular fish that are exciting right now. But the other thing that is a sign of spring for me, having grown up in Galveston, is as the waters warm up, you see more and more dolphins. And so dolphins becoming more visible. They're year-round, but you don't see as many of them in the cold weather. And so you can actually take boat rides out into the bay and see dolphins as the waters get warmer. So what does Ostara look like on the Texas Gulf Coast? All those poems about snow melting and the warmth returning, not quite so relevant. To me, spring is bluebonnets and songbirds and dolphins. It rains in the spring. We start to enter not just our humid, muggy season, but also our actual literal monsoon season begins in April and May. And so rain and green vegetables, we come back to life in our own special, specific, bioregional way. Spring is a resurrection of old gods and new ones, of green life and growing things, and of our own inner beings. It's hope and it's sunshine and wildflower blossoms, even amid the chaos of our lives and even amid this darkening political moment. There are few forces on earth that can stop the bluebonnets. I won't say there aren't any, but there are not many ways to prevent the wildflowers from blooming. So let that be our hope in this season, that like the rising sun and the bluebonnets and the Indian paintbrush, we too shall come forth in this season, bringing our hopes and our joys out into the world. Amen, and may it be so. And before we do our offering, I would like to invite Chris up to give a testimonial. I feel like you got my testimonial when I did my stewardship sermon a couple of weeks ago. Alok's whole service was a testimonial, and Chris has a testimonial for us.
Hello. If you don't know me, my name is Chris McQuage-Loukas, and I'm your minister's spouse is my official title. I grew up in a church. I was taken to an Episcopal church by my grandparents, and I never felt like I belonged. I thought I got it, but I didn't want to be there. And I've spent the past 10 years in Lutheran churches, UU churches, United Church of Christ churches, and I never felt like it was a community for me. I understood why people felt that way, but I didn't feel like it was for me. But I want to tell you how Butch Cockrell changed that for me. So Katie and I, long before she was a minister in search, visited this church while visiting Katie's family in Galveston. We snuck in that door over there and, didn't even acknowledge the greeters or anything, and Rusty Cockrell was not going to let that stand. And so Rusty ducked out head to toe in Astros orange because they were playing the Red Sox in the playoffs, came up, introduced himself, asked us where we were from. And he said, my father actually worked at Draper Labs in Boston. Would you like to meet him? We said, yes. I grew up in Southeast Texas. People who worked for the space program are rock stars, in my opinion. So after the service, he took us back to Cockrell Hall and said, this is my father, Butch Cockrell. And, he said, we lived in Boston. He said, oh yeah, I worked at Draper Labs in Boston. And in this moment, I said to myself, shut up. Listen to whatever this man has to say. He needs to talk. And Butch proceeded to talk about whale watching in Boston. And I tried to redirect him back to his work in the space program, but he wanted to talk about whale watching and asked whether I'd gone and why I should go. And that moment has stuck with me for, we're coming up on a decade at this point, because I met a person who didn't want to talk about his work. He didn't want to talk about my work. He didn't want to talk about my beliefs. He said, I've lived where you've lived, and there's beauty there, and you need to go see it. And it stuck with me. It was a beautiful moment. And then Katie went to the search process, and this church was up on the list. And so I was like, oh, we could go to the Butch Cockrell Church. That'd be wonderful. And then we came down for our first search weekend. And Katie knew how much this meant to me, because when we met Lisa, Katie leaned over to me and goes, that's Butch's daughter. But meeting the search committee, it taught me that welcoming culture, that not caring who you are and just wanting to share in beauty, was the culture of the church. So I want to say thank you to members of the search committee who are here, and I want to say thank you to Rusty, and I want to say thank you to Butch. Because this is the first church I've ever joined. And I love it here. And doesn't matter. I want to come here. Okay? I want people to understand that. You think that I come and I'm standing behind Katie and I look like I'm ready to go, because I am ready to go. But this is my church. She happens to work here as well. And so, and as somebody who's worked in maintenance and churches and knows what budgets take, I want to tell everybody, please put in your pledges, okay? And if you can't pledge much or you can't pledge anything, please put that in as well. Letting the church know how much they have lets them plan. It's not about giving as more than you can spare. It's about letting the church know what you can. And so I just want to let everyone know. And so now we will do the offertory. We have there we go. We will pass the plate. We will ask you to give what you can from your pockets. You can scan the barcode or go to the church website. If you are a visitor here, if this is your first or second time, please let us know. Please know that your presence is gift enough. Thank you.
I realize I'm doing the first announcement, so I might as well bless the offering. Let us bless the offering together with this gift from the abundance of my life blesses me, our ministries, and the world. And I would like to thank the choir for the offertory. That's one of my favorites in our hymnal, and it's just really hard to sing, and we need people who are good at singing to sing it for us, and so thank you for that. All right. Our first announcement is for Discover BAUUC. It is a series of drop-ins that you can do kind of in any order. The idea is just to have little mini orientations to areas of BAUUC church life. I know it says UU 101 and meet the minister. That was actually the last one. This one is service and justice, so it's really more about meeting Jeff and Brian and whomever from service and justice would like to come and talk to some newcomers about the different kinds of organizations we partner with and work that we do. Although I will likely be generally present, so you can still meet me if you would like to, but I'm not the primary focus of this one. There are some others coming up. We just did the UU 101 and Meet the Minister. We'll have one where we talk about what worship is like in a UU church if you're new and kind of thinking this is familiar but not quite, and you want to talk about that. We're also going to have one where we do kind of a tour of the building, so when we say things like that's in the whatever room, you'll know what that means. And there's a couple of others lined up that are, like I said, just little bite-sized introductions and orientations to life here at BAUUC. And so hope to see you there. Thanks.
So our annual Easter egg hunt is less than a month away, and the Women's Spirituality Group is collecting small, individually wrapped candies for Easter bags for our kids. Donations may be dropped off in the church office. Thank you, everybody, for helping make this a sweet celebration. On Monday, March 23rd and Friday, March 27th, join us in the Cockrell Hall at 5 p.m. to make signs for the upcoming No Kings March. We'll share ideas, connect with others who plan to attend, and have all the supplies available. You're also welcome to bring your own poster board or any other materials. Carol Phillips wanted to ask for a reminder and an invitation for everybody to join on Fridays, Knitting the Spirit, noon to 2 p.m. in the library. This is some of her handiwork she wanted to show off. And that's every Friday.
Yeah,
Available by Zoom as well.
big scarves and mufflers for our mitten tree coming up.
And I think I did a postcard project in there, so you don't have to do, you can bring whatever. It's a fun time. After today's service, let's see, where are we at? Sorry. Have a congregational meeting. Oh, the insert, yes. Sorry, we have a special, The Future of Human Rights and International Law in a Divided World. Our guest speaker, Professor Laura Wildenthal. And it's going to be Tuesday, March 24th at 7 p.m. in the sanctuary. She is the chair of the History Department and director of the Center for the Study of Women, Gender, and Sexuality at Rice University. She also holds the John Anthony Weir Professorship, and this event is free and open to the public. It will be followed by a light reception. Please join us. Sorry. Lots of things going on. So after today's service, you're invited. Please stay for our congregational meeting. It's a great chance to learn more about what's happening in the life of the church with updates from the nominating committee, announcements, ministry teams, and the Thistle and Honey Cups group. That's the Covenant of UU Pagans group. Everyone is welcome. Please stay. And at 2 p.m. also in the sanctuary, we're going to have a PFLAG and GSA meeting today. If you'd like to know more, please let me or Barbara Larson know. There is always a lot happening here at Bay Area UU Church. We can't announce everything during the service, so be sure that you're signed up for the weekly email so you don't miss any news or upcoming events. And if you're new to BAUUC and you would like to stay connected, please scan the QR code on the screen to sign up. Any new visitors here today, please sign the book if you didn't already in the lobby. And now we close by singing together 1064, Blue Boat Home, in the teal.
Still
As we enter our season of beauty, of song, bird song, and wildflowers and dolphins, and whatever else spring means to you, may you carry that with you out into the world and radiate it for others. May you bring that transformation and that beauty into the lives of all who know you. Amen. Go in peace. May it be so.